All right, we are going to start just by resizing our images. And by resizing, I mean reducing the number of pixels, which also reduces the file size. To show you why that matters, I made a sample GIF using some of the original unedited images downloaded at their largest size. If we double click this, see how long it took to load? They didn't load immediately. If we hit the info button, it says that this GIF is 13.4 megabytes, and that is way too big, especially because GIFs are supposed to be small, fast-loading files on the web, and ideally need to be under 4 or 5 megabytes so that they can load quickly and be shared easily. All right, so from here, we know our 3 ways to change the image size. We could, 1, make sure that our Move tool is selected and click Image Size under Properties. 2, we could go to Image, Image Size, or 3, use the key command, Alt-Option-Command-I. All right, so I specifically want to resize this image to 1920 by 1080 pixels portrait. And I want to do this because that's the size that Instagram uses for Reels and Stories. So we are going to treat this activity as if we are creating an Instagram ad. So because these are linked, the minute that I type in 1920, the width automatically changes. And unfortunately, it's not 1080, which is the size we need. So let's try to unlink it. And then we can change the width to 1080 and hit OK. But what happened? Now the image isn't proportional. So we're going to hit Edit, Undo, Image Size, and find a way to scale this down that keeps it proportional. So you guys remember the crop tool that I went over? Let's go ahead and grab that. One of the nice things about the crop tool is the crop tool up in the options panel has an option for setting a ratio. Luckily, they have a 16 by 9 ratio, and 16 by 9 is the exact proportion of a 1920 by 1080 pixel image. So let's go ahead and click 16 by 9. And it came up as a landscape orientation, so how are we going to change that? Right here are these 2 little arrows that essentially mean we're going to swap the width and the height. So let's swap the width and the height. And now we have a 16 by 9 crop, and before we complete this action, we can move the football player so he's kind of in the composition in a nice way. So I want to try to I want his foot in the whole composition. Generally, when you have a figure, if both of their feet are in the composition, they just look a little more grounded. And we're going to hit this check mark, and that means OK. Once we have the image cropped, we can go back to Image, Image Size. This time, make sure that our link is checked, so that way these change together. And if I change the height to 1920, the width automatically changed, and it changed to 1080, the exact ratio we're looking for. I'm going to hit OK. And now let's do this for each image. All right, so now that we've resized our images, let's remove the background from each of these images. In this photo, I'm going to click Remove Background in the contextual taskbar. This option works really well when there is a high contrast between your subject and your background. In this photo, we don't necessarily have like a fully high contrast in color, but what we do have is a blurry background and a clear subject, which creates enough contrast that I think this will work well. This is not always the most precise method depending on the photo. Generally, I do prefer to make a selection first, which I'll show you in a different photo.
Yeah.
All right, if we go to our toolbar and in our selection tools, look for our object selection tool. It's right here. You can hover over different areas, and when they highlight pink, that means that you can select that particular object. You can also just click and drag, and it will kind of take a random guess. And here, it highlighted the subject. It even highlighted the skateboard. So I'm going to show you a little trick. Let's just say it selected something you didn't want, like the skateboard. I can go ahead and grab another selection tool. Let's just grab the polygon tool or the lasso tool. It doesn't matter which. If I hold down my Alt or Option key, and while I hold down my Alt or Option key, I can select this selection. Now I've just deleted the selection. See, now the marching ants are not around the skateboard. I can also add to a selection by holding down Shift and trying to reselect the skateboard. And now I've kind of reselected the skateboard. It's not as precise. I do want to have the skateboard selected, so let's go to our handy dandy History tab, open that. The History tab shows me all the things that I've done, and I can step back, 1, 2, and now I have the skateboard selected. So now that we have everything we want selected, all you have to do is go to the bottom of your layers panel and click this little button. It has a dark circle and a white rectangle. It looks like the Japanese flag. That is your layer mask button, and we're just going to click that. And now we have added a mask and masked out the background. A little quick tip on masks. When you have a mask, this selection was not perfect. As we can see here, his knee is kind of transparent. So here's the thing with masks. The color black, which is your foreground right now, black will hide and white will reveal. So if we grab our brush tool, and right now we have black selected, I'm going to go to our brushes. I'm going to set the hardness to 100, bring it down to 46. When it's black, I'm hiding. I'm going to undo that. So I want the color white, and I am going to bring back some of this area where my selection tool did not do a great job. And now we have some of his knee back. When you are manipulating the mask, just make sure that the mask thumbnail here, the black and white thumbnail, is selected and not the photo thumbnail. Let's move on to our dancer. So for this photo, I'm going to select the subject using the Select Subject button in the contextual taskbar. Yes, I could just remove the background, but I'm going to show you how to select and mask another way. All right, so now that our subject is selected, another way we can add a mask is go to Select, Select and Mask. And I generally like to open up this Select and Mask window when I'm working with a subject that has like textured hair or textured clothing, so I can see how well the mask selected the hair. And I'm seeing that it did a really good job of selecting her hair. So now I'm going to scroll down and go to Output 2, and let's just do Layer Mask. In the last video, we did New Layer with Layer Mask. For this video, we're just going to do Layer Mask. So it will put the mask right on this image. All right, now that all three of our subjects have their backgrounds masked out, I'm going to show you how to add a new solid background color. And there's a few ways that we can do this. As usual, there's dozens of ways to accomplish the same task in Photoshop. So I'm going to try to show you a lot of them. For this image, I'm going to click this plus sign and make a new layer and move it below the football player. I'm going to change my foreground color to the background color that I would like. And for this background color, I'm going to do 00001AB. It's a nice blue, and hit OK. Now I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, Contents, Fill with Foreground Color, which is the color I just chose, hit OK. And now I've added a blue background. All right. Let's move on to this guy. Same thing, let's add a new layer. Move it below him. Let's change our foreground color by double clicking the foreground color in the toolbar. And let's change this color to 65EE6B. And that is this kind of lime green, and hit OK. Now we're going to go to our toolbar and grab the paint bucket tool. And all you have to do with the paint bucket tool is make sure the layer you want to fill is selected and fill it. And I'm gonna make sure to rename this background. And as we go ahead, make sure you're renaming your layers. All right, so my favorite way to add a color is to go to the bottom of the layers panel and grab that little circle that is black and white. Those are your adjustments. And go ahead and grab solid color. We are going to grab a solid color adjustment layer. And right away our color picker comes up and it adds a layer right in the layers panel. This color is going to be F7EB69 and hit OK. Drag that under, name it background. I'm gonna name this one subject. All right, so now that we've added our backgrounds, we are gonna do a fun outline text effect to each of these images. All right, so go ahead and grab your type tool and click and drag. The font that I am using is BCClut Ultra. You may not have access to that unless you have a full Adobe account. So let's type in the word move. And I'm gonna make the size 351. I'm going to double click the color and I'm going to make the color EEC10E. It's going to be a yellow. And every time you create a text box, the text box shows up as a separate layer in your layers panel. So I'm going to right click on this layer and find duplicate layer, or you can click Command J. I'm going to rename the bottom layer Move Original and the top layer Move Inline. And I'm going to move the original type layer below the subject. And I'm going to select our inline layer and I'm going to set the fill from 100% to 0%. I want you to notice that I'm not changing the opacity, I'm changing the fill. Fill and opacity are different. And so now we're going to double click the layer, and be careful when you do this because if you double click the text, you're going to just highlight the text to rename it. I need you to double click off the text and layer style will come up. Go ahead and click stroke, make sure it's checked, and you'll notice that now our layer has a nice stroke to it. If we go to the stroke settings, you'll see I have my size set to 12, my position set to inside, and my color set to the same color as the fill. If your color is different, you can just double click and select any color and it changes. Make sure it's the same color as the other text layer and hit OK. Now I want to move these together, but if I were to grab one layer and move it, I'm only moving one. So I'm going to hit Command Z. And in my layers panel, I am going to link these two layers. If I were to click this and hold down Shift to try to select the other text layer, it's going to select both text layers and the image layer. But if I hold down Command, click your type layer, hold down Command, click your other type layer, now I've only selected my text layers. And then I'm going to go to the bottom of my layers panel, and do you see this little link icon? Just click that. And now we'll see that our layers are linked. There's an icon there showing us that they're linked. So now, anytime I try to move them, they're going to move together, creating this nice, unique text effect. And I need to figure out where I want to move this. And maybe right here over his dark blue pants, so that way you can kind of see the inline better. So let's go ahead and hit Command again and select both of these layers. And all we are going to do is hit Command C on our keyboard or Control C on a PC, and then go to our other tab and hit Command V. And now they've pasted to our other image. Let's make sure the inline layer is above our subject and one's below. Notice that they're still linked. I want to change the text. So I'm going to double click the T and I'm going to type in your. I'm going to do the same thing for the original layer, type in your, Y-O-U-R. All right, so now we got to figure out the colors. I'm going to double click the bottom text layer and then under properties, double click the color. And I'm going to give this the color D84D02 and hit OK. Now I'm going to go to the inline layer, the layer above it. We still have to change this color. I can just double click on stroke and the stroke settings come up, and then I can double click color and just grab the color that we just added and hit OK. Now these layers are linked, so all we have to do is grab them and move them to a place where we can see the text clearly. I'm going to put them over his legs because the orange text is more easily seen over the blue pants. And now we're going to move on to our third photo. And all we have to do is hit Command V again because our layers were already copied to our clipboard. So once again, I'm going to make sure that the bottom one is underneath the subject. The inline is above the subject. The layer order really matters. I'm going to double click the T to change the text, and I'm going to change this text to body. If you can't tell already, our GIF is going to say, move your body. Hit OK, grabbing the bottom layer, double clicking the color, and changing the hex code to EE0E4D. And then to change the color of the text above it, just double click stroke, and then double click color, and then just use the color picker tool to grab the color. Anywhere you click, you will be able to grab. So grab that color you want, hit OK. And these are linked, so we can go ahead and move them. And I think this one might actually look kind of cool over her hair. Oh, maybe over her dress. And now we have the images made for our GIF. Move your body. So let's go ahead and hit File, save a copy, and under your class folder, whatever it's named, go to your project, and you don't want to put it in the same folder as the original images. We want those separate. We made a folder for edited images. So let's go ahead and click that. I'm going to rename this image 01. It's already saved as a JPEG, which should be okay. We're going to hit save. I'm actually going to bump this up to 12. We've already decreased it in size enough. Save. Now we're going to do the same thing with this image. File, save a copy. Make sure we're going to edited images. We're going to do image 02. Save it as a JPEG. Bump that up to 12, hit OK. And same thing with this. File, save a copy. Image 0302. All right, so now we're going to take those edited images and import them into a new Photoshop file. But we're not going to make a new Photoshop file the way that I taught you before with File, New. When creating GIFs or GIFs, we're going to want to load files into a stack. So all we have to do is go to File, Scripts, Load Files into Stack. And a window comes up for us to load our layers. So we're going to click Browse. You're going to grab the edited images from your edited images folder. 2, 3. I'm holding down Shift to select all of them. And we're going to hit Open. Now what this does is it's just gonna, once we hit OK, make a file with all of our images already loaded into layers. And the size of the file is just gonna be how big the images already are. So to make a GIF, you're gonna need your timeline window open. So go to Window, Timeline. All right, and now You might have a button here that says Create Video Timeline. I want you to click this drop-down arrow and click Create Frame Animation, and then just click this button that says Create Frame Animation. And you will see one of the layers shows up on your timeline. Now go to this hamburger menu and click Make Frames from Layers. All right, now all of our layers are in our frames. And I think I want to reorder them. I want them to be Move Your Body in that order, so you can click and drag to reorder them. And I'm going to change the timing here. You see how it says 0 seconds at the bottom? You can click this arrow and change it from 0 seconds to 0.5 to 1. I'm going to click Other, and I'm going to type in 0.75. I don't want it to be a full 1 second, but I also think half a second is not enough, and I'm going to do that for each of them. Other, 0.75. All right, you also want to make sure that you can see the word forever down here. If you don't see that, click this arrow and make sure it says forever. That's the amount of times that this GIF is going to loop. So let's click play, and you're going to get a preview for the image that you're making. And it just forever loops. Move your body. I could see a GIF like this being used as an Instagram ad for like a sporting goods store or whatnot. And so we're going to go ahead and click File, Export, Save for Web. All right, so when this window pops up, just grab GIF 128 dithered. And I know that this all looks like a lot. For now, just ignore all of it. As long as you have your GIF option selected, go ahead and hit Save. It's going to ask where you want to save it. Let's go to our class folder, our project, and this is a final export. So we're going to put it in the Final Exports tab, and we're going to call this, we can call it Action GIF, or just Action Images.gif. And we're going to hit Save. If you want to see what your GIF looks like, let's go to our project. We can open Preview and hold down the spacebar. The annoying thing about Preview is that it only plays a GIF once. We can also click and drag it to our open browser. Right now I'm in Firefox, but this will work in any browser, and just drop it in, and then your browser will play the GIF for you, and you'll get to see what your work looks like. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a lot about image manipulation and creating GIFs. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a tutorial. Thank you for watching.